Hello and welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your hosts, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, good morning.
How's it going? It's not morning. I mean, I know you're colorblind, but come on, it's dark out there.
Yeah. Well, I thought we would wear our festive green shirts today.
Right?
As you can tell, listeners of the non-audio podcasts, like, any of our main ones, we so happen to now own the same shirt.
Outside of the podcast shirts.
Yeah, outside of the podcast shirts, right? And I thought, what a better way than let's wear our colorblind t-shirts. Because remember, graphic design, super important.
Yep. So it makes sense. It's kind of fun to do stuff like this. And you look good in green, man. I'm telling you.
Thank you. I agree. You too.
All right, so we got some big stuff going on today. We are on our third part of the cycle here in January, which means we're giving a third clue to the giveaway, as you can see right above my podcast partner's head. I just recently played this game. I showed it to my wife and some friends, and they really enjoyed it. Yeah. So good job.
Thank you.
Other than the stupid trap.
Well, so I normally play it. You can block a trap personally.
Yeah.
But man, it hurts so bad when you have to use a shield for a trap.
Yeah, no, I get it. But it specifically says in the rules, shields are for hits. The trap is not a hit.
That's true.
So we're like, okay, yeah, it was my last piece of death, but
no,
but it was fun. So you're going to be able to win one of these two copies. We are giving away 2 games of Hit Me, created by my podcast partner over here. That's his second published game by Thing 12 Games, the original one being Matches, which is, I just saw Tabletop Bellhop's review go on their YouTube channel today.
Oh, was
for
it
Matches?
today?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I gotta check it out.
Yeah, so it's up there. So
man, he does such a great job of just promoting that game. I want to send him a copy of Hit Me. I'd be really curious. I don't think he would like it as much, but I think
it would work for his pub group.
Yeah, his pub group I think would work really well for it.
Yeah, and it's that nice, good shenanigans. But yeah, no, it was a fantastic time. But today we have a great episode of Board Game Breakdown. Want to tell the people what's going on?
That's right. We haven't done one of these in a while. We're doing a compare and contrast. This is for Splendor and Century Spice Road.
Yeah,
or
and
Century Golem Edition.
Golem Edition, yeah, whatever. In fact, I don't even have the base games up there. I have my Pokemon Splendor and my Century Golem Edition.
Yep.
But Century and Splendor, those are the 2 games that get compared a lot. So we're going to do our compare and contrast to let you guys decide which game fits you best.
That's right. So, yeah. But before we get into that, we have a news segment. We do want to specify, it's been a slow news month,
It really has been.
We try mostly not to discuss stuff that, you can get everywhere. That's super obvious. We'll talk about some things that are somewhat well-known.
But it's usually something that we're interested in, too.
Right, exactly, yeah. We try to cater it to us, but so we decided to also, since we have a surprise later, which we'll talk about later, we'll also talk about some of the games that we've been playing lately, too.
So we're going to add that this week and next week, too. And the reason why is for that little surprise that we're going to talk about. You've got a little clue if you follow us on Instagram.
That's right. So, with that being said, let's get into the news. You ready to begin?
Yep.
All right.
And starting with me, so big piece of news here is we're connoisseurs of the cardboard, as you can see. We do really enjoy our gaming, but we also have to do it on a budget. We're not very thrifty, or not very savvy with the money and stuff like that. So we got to be smart in how we buy these games.
We're not rich.
Yeah, we're not. We're far from it. But the thing about it is, and we're not big enough where we get sent a lot of games for reviews and stuff like that to decide. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, if you want to do some shopping for deals and stuff like that, the Nerds Day, they are splitting their stuff up. The Game Nerds is an online store. We have actually been to the physical store, one of the physical stores up in Dallas. They are doing their second deal of the day within the last 8 months. They decided they're going to split the deals of the days twice a year. This way they don't have to overload their staff for packaging and stuff like that, because it got really crazy the last couple of years. This year, it's going to, or the first one of the year is going to land on February 28th of 2025, giving people an idea of when it's going to happen and start saving up. And I like the fact that they did it at the back end of February. This way everybody's recouping from their Christmas spending and stuff like that. So that's a good part of it. There's going to be 50 items on sale, and it's a mix of RPGs, accessories, and board games, mainly board games, but there is RPGs and stuff like that. It's going to be on there. They already have clues for the first 3 things that are going to go on sale on the 28th on their website, and that's what I like about them is they'll start releasing clues, and you're trying to figure out what game is it talking about.
Right.
I do love that little puzzle aspect of it. They make a game out of what they're selling, so I like that. And it's a great place to get deals. I've gotten some games for dirt cheap, $20, something like that, and these are like games that came out the last year. And I know a big part of it helps them clear out their warehouse and stuff like that. But
nothing wrong with clearing out warehouse.
And the thing about it too is I highly recommend setting yourself up an account with Game Nerds and do customer holds, because they'll hold all your games until you hit and then when you decide to hit that threshold of $75, you don't have to pay the shipping. So put it under customer hold. Once you buy 2 or 3 games that hit you that threshold of $75, then you can release them and send them out, and they'll ship them to you. Just be warned that if you do buy games on Nerd Day and you're going to get them, be aware that the shipping is going to take a little bit longer than you would used to if you buy them from regular time, because they're getting inundated with a lot of sales, and so it's just a queue. So it's going to take a little bit longer than what you're used to.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. First piece of news I want to talk about was sent out by the Gamma Expo, or at least we're Gamma members.
Yeah. Well, not this year. I didn't redo the membership this year.
That's true. Game and Manufacturers Association, and they just recently announced that the port strikes that were looming have been averted.
Yeah.
They struck a deal. They found out, that I hope it's a good deal for everybody involved. I didn't look at the details, but that goes to show that now the port strikes have been averted for the time being. They managed to work out a deal, and there shouldn't be any further delays as far as shipping, at least as far as ship ports, freight carriers, stuff from China, for the time being.
For the time being. They are
regarding the shipping companies.
Yeah, they're in the process of trying to work with the new administration coming in about the tariffs.
Right.
So just everybody knows.
Yeah.
It might affect board games. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I like the fact that they did avert that strike, because they basically kicked it down the road when they originally were striking too.
Right, exactly. And they basically just said like, hey, we it's holiday season. We don't want you guys to strike. Yeah. How can we hold it off for now? And then and so I'm sure some kind of negotiation went through that. Again, I'm not involved in the industry enough to know that. Yeah. But I'm just glad to hear that it's been averted. And as far as shipping goes from China, currently there shouldn't be any more delays.
Yeah, so that's kind of nice. Because have you noticed, because everybody was trying to avert the strike as well as the incoming tariffs, I am getting inundated with everything shipping at once. I've gotten more packages delivered the last 2 months from board gaming Kickstarters and stuff like that than anywhere else. It's not even funny.
I haven't noticed because I toned it back on Kickstarters, but yes, I've gotten both of the Kickstarters I was waiting for. So I just got a delivery today. I just got one of the Kickstarters I've been waiting for. I just got shipping notification for another one. I just got my Ascension. In fact, one of the things on my pile of shame over here, the Wandering Galaxy from Black Hat Games, they sent the game out before the app is even ready for you to play the game, because they wanted to do it just in case people wanted to put it under the Christmas tree, or they wanted to make sure before the ports and stuff like that. Wow.
So, yeah, it was funny.
Yep.
All right, so my last bit of news here is there's no surprise, I am a Stonemaier fanboy. I love the Stonemaier games.
You are?
I am. And I do like the Span games, and everybody was complaining about this recently. Stonemaier just announced their newest game in the Span, the World of Wingspan line, Finspan. Mm-hmm. And the thing about the whole argument about this, it drives me insane, because it is a completely different game. So, are you getting mad for Azul for doing the same thing? I didn't hear any gripes about the 4 different Azuls that came out there. You and me were excited to play all of them. We didn't like one of them. But
one of them.
One of them was But other than that, it was. I like the fact that they're doing this sort of stuff, because they're stepping away from the norm when it comes to themes and stuff like that, and going into these like nature themes that people are really intrigued by. And all that I liked about it, it's in the Wingspan line, as I said, but it is supposed to be the lighter of the 3 games. Wingspan is supposed to be the middle ground, Wormspan's a little heavier, and Finspan's a little lighter. So there's no food component in this one. You're using the cards to pay for your fish to put on your board. So you're basically multi-use cards. I'm going to use these cards to pay for this. Your cards go into your own personal discard pile for you to scavenge through if you need to.
Okay.
You're adding fish to your tableau. You're diving the depths with your researcher, and you're triggering effects that way, kind of like Wormspan does it. And as well as your fish, when they hatch, they become schools, and they can transfer around the board. It has some interesting concepts that I think would be really neat. I am going to get it myself. Releases on the 22nd of January on Stonemaier website.
Really fast.
The thing about Stonemaier is, like, when they announce the game, it's already on the way to their warehouse to start shipping out. Once it gets to the warehouse, that's when they put it up for sale for it to start getting shipped or getting close. So, yeah, they're really close to getting it out there. I figured I'd probably have it about February or something like that if I do order it on the 22nd. Well, I am going to order on the 22nd. Designers are David Gordon and Michael O'Connell, with Elizabeth Hardgrave designing. And one thing I do have to mention here, and I really was annoyed by, was all the hate that they were getting because Wingspan's newest expansion hasn't come out, and everybody's wanting, like, the America's Birds or the other stuff like that, to the point where Elizabeth Hardgrave had to come out and say what is going on with her family, and that's why the development's being slow. It's like, calm down and just let what's happening happen. They are still doing it. If you follow Stonemaier at all, they're very good at telling you where everything is in the line of coming out. And it just got delayed because of family issues. I don't want to mention it here on the podcast, but well wishes to Elizabeth Hardgrave and everything that's going on there. So, but yeah, Finspan coming out from Stonemaier. Calm down. Your game is going to come out.
Right. And, so, like, let me put my point of view on this before I go into my last piece of news. Because, like, I saw some interesting stuff about this. So, Finspan, you and I get the same emails. You saw it. I'm like, I like fish better than birds. I don't really care about either, but I guess I love aquatic stuff more than I do, I guess. I mean, I'll eat any of the birds, like, sure. I like poultry a lot. Well, maybe not all of them, but I don't know. I don't think an emu would be all that great.
Actually, emu is not bad.
Is it?
Yeah, I like ostrich a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, maybe I'll have to try it. But anyway, like, Finspan, when I saw that, I was like, okay, like, that's. I like the cover, actually.
Oh, the cover is really nice. It's a tie back to Wingspan with the flycatcher, but it's the flying fish.
Right.
Striking cover.
And first off, like, I looked at the comments of it, because of course it's a hotness on Board Game Geek.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of people rating. And first off, I'm just going to say this right now. If you haven't played the game, don't rate it.
Yeah.
Like, shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
Dumb. Because, like, don't do it don't rate it in response to somebody else who is being stupid. That doesn't make you less stupid.
Yeah,
it makes you stupider.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. I'm going to put you down right now. I'm sorry.
What is it? 2 wrongs don't make a right?
Yeah, but 3 rights make a left. And that's the issue here. I don't know. But anyway, like, I saw that. And that will lead into a topic we talk about later. Because we want to bring up something later, too. But, like, if you haven't played it, really don't rate it. Like, and do us a favor. If you have played it or a prototype of it, go rate your games. Like, really, that helps out the designer a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So, but Finspan, I mean, out of all of the spans, that is the one I would be most willing, like...
Not a Dragon fan?
I am a Dragon fan, but there's something about it, like, I don't know.
Have you even played it?
No.
Then don't rate it.
I don't mean, no. I'm just saying, like, I'm not chomping at the bit to play. Like it. I figured you're going to bring it up at some point during our game group, and I'll probably end up playing it, but I've never played it.
I was actually telling my wife, my next game group.
I won't rate it. I promise.
My other group are really big fans of Wingspan and Wormspan, for that matter. I was telling her, like, one of the game nights we're going to go over there. I'm going to do the Spaniverse, and we're going to play all 3 games.
That's right. There you go. Why not?
Yeah.
There you go. And all right. So my last piece of news is 25th Century Games just announced their import collection that they are coming in with. They announced 7 games, but then they also announced in the same email there's also 2 more. So it's 9 games in total.
And it's gonna need a Kickstarter, right?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I think their imports always go to Kickstarter.
Yeah. And about half of the games are U.S., Canada only, so they're bringing them to North America.
Yeah.
The other half they have worldwide distribution for it. Those games are The First Czar, Intent to Kill, Kabuki Tricks, The Yellow House, Liar's Dice, which I'll talk about that in a minute, La Habana, The Battle of Versailles, Take a Seat, and the two that they also announced, making up to 9, is Take a Seat and Cat and Wolf Days.
Versailles, is that the salt and pepper one?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, that's the one I've been intrigued by.
Yeah.
And then the other one you were saying was...
Liar's Dice.
No, not Liar's Dice. What's the other one?
Okay.
The First Czar. Isn't that a sequel or like a successor to like Stroganoff or something like that?
Not a clue.
Yeah, I know
it though.
It's supposed to be in the same line of another game.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I think it's Stroganoff or something like that.
Yeah, could be. I've played Stroganoff a while back, so I don't, it was okay. It's fine.
What was that one that was like the espionage one? That one looks really interesting.
Is that Intent to Kill?
Intent to Kill, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I haven't looked too much into these. Like, I've heard the Yellow House looks intriguing to me. But, like, yeah, I think, so the Liar's Dice one, like, that's already in America. Like, it's a public domain game, technically.
Well, yeah, but I don't think they have they have now the rights to Liar's Dice. Because everything you've seen out there, they call it something else.
Right, exactly.
So you have Pirate's Dice, you have Perudo is another one. Duff Dice, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's probably just the actual, like, branding, or it's, like, a really nice version that was made internationally. I think it's bringing
out, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. 9 new games. I don't know if they're going to be doing Kickstarter for it, but they did announce those, and they might even do more if it is popular.
Oh no, I do like them.
Good on them.
I was able to pick up a couple from their last Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Last one they had like Hamster Roll. I picked up Run 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 because I'm a Bruno Cathala fan, and then I end up also getting
that game was something.
You actually enjoyed the game. You just hated that it was cats.
Yeah, 100%.
You were like,
I didn't dislike the game.
This is tile laying. This is neat. If it was not cats, I'd probably own it.
Yeah. That
you gotta admit though, those acrylic standees were really nice.
For being cats, yeah, they were fine.
But also the other one that I got from them was Witchcraft, which is a salt and pepper game, the solo game that I still haven't played yet. I need to bust that one out. Yeah. But I also picked it up. So I love the fact that they're bringing they're basically what Rio Grande Games was about 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. They're bringing all the imports that you couldn't really get anywhere else. So good on them. We love the international games. There's some amazing designs coming around. And sometimes I feel like being in a bubble here, I mean, the United States is huge, right?
Yeah,
we have a lot of really prolific designers, really intriguing stuff. But there's something about, like, getting different cultures and different flavors and different ideas. Mm-hmm. And like, that's Hive Mind that, like, sometimes the international games just hit different. Like, right now we're having an insurgence in Brazilian games, right?
And not just that. We're getting a lot of Asian-flavored games, too. Korean board games are coming out. Yeah. Japanese board game or card games are making a big push nowadays. Yeah. So, I'm liking a lot of this. I love the international flavor. It's not just American games or Euro games. We're getting a good mix nowadays.
Exactly, which I can't appreciate more. I also brought this up earlier. This was going to be one of my pieces of news, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit.
A nice little discussion before we go to our special announcement.
And what we've been playing. Mm-hmm. And so, there's a game currently on GameFound. At least I think it's either coming out on GameFound.
It's on GameFound.
Or currently on GameFound.
It's currently.
It's called Foxpaw. And there has been a lot of buzz about it. And so much to the point where, like, we got to address stuff. We're part of the media, right? Mm-hmm. We can talk about this. We're going to take a pretty... we do a good unbiased view on a lot of this stuff. But I will say that a lot of my family and friends are artists. Yeah. So the use of AI art, while I have been tempted to as a designer to use... I have decided, it's just not worth the time. I'm going to pay an artist. It's worth to have the money to not have that stigma, if nothing else.
And it's not just the fact that you're paying an artist and not dealing with the AI. It's the way they have to train the AI art. And now there is a difference, like, depending on the company that they're using, the company might pay the artist to train their AI, but you just don't know. You have to do a lot of research on that aspect.
Yeah, exactly. And so... like that whole training part of it is where the controversy comes in. Not because of AI technically, but like because not technically so much because you're putting artists out of business. It's that you're taking source material that is questionably sourced.
Mm-hmm.
And now the apparently, according to some of the
designers
feedback and the designers that I've heard, is that they had an artist and a graphic designer use the AI art and then like redo it, use it as inspiration, or incorporate it in and then do graphic design onto it or whatever. Yeah. But there is still AI art into the product that they have.
Yeah.
Now, whether that was just to create product until like to show off what the game is going to be, and then later on, like change it to where it's fully artist based, that might have been a thing. I don't know. I haven't been following it deep enough. That's how if I always thought like as a designer what I would do, and if I ever used AI imagery in my art, I would specify this is to give you the idea of what it is while the art is being worked on by an artist. And part of the fundraising goals I would use is to fund the art. That's how I would do it. I'm not saying that's how they're doing it or justifying it in any way.
They're doing well on GameFound.
And they're doing well on it. But then, and it's pretty looking. Like, I mean, the AI art looks pretty, honestly. Yeah.
But you look at art too, and you can see, like, something's not right here.
Yeah, it's clear. And then, so, I saw a few, like, reviews of it. And then, on top of it, it's very heavily inspired by Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
No, they even say it on the Kickstarter or in their comment section and stuff like that.
Which is fine. I mean, it's okay to have, like, if you don't have the rights to Harry Potter, it's okay to use that. You can't use, like, IP stuff, but you can pay it as an homage. Like, as long as you're not using their assets, that's fine. And it's a labor of love in a way, right?
Exactly.
But here was the thing that I found the most interesting about it, is I went online and I saw a review. One pretty prominent reviewer made a video about it. He gave his reviews and his opinions on it, and then he found out later on that it was AI art, and he made a post about it. It basically just said, hey guys, like, I found out about this afterwards. It now makes sense. I suspected the AI art just because of the way it looked, but I didn't want to call him out because I didn't know.
Yeah.
But this is the link to all the stuff. I want you to go research it. Like, I just reviewed it based on the gameplay, and I enjoyed the gameplay. It's like, cool. Okay, fair enough. But then, so I found some of the threads that I was talking about, and then it's getting hammered with 1 point ratings. Which, again, if you haven't played it, don't rate it.
Yeah.
That is not the time or place to do that. And then
do what people are doing on GameFound. Discuss it on their comment section.
Yeah,
let people. That's how you do it. Or put it in a forum.
Or put it in the forums. But then, and there's people who go on there, rate it a 10 just to offset the ones. It's like, still, you're not helping anything.
No.
But here's the issue I had, right? I looked at the forums because I'm like, this is where it should go. Let's see what people are saying here. And then, like, the second hottest forum on there was an accusation that this company that's publishing it was purposefully flooding with new threads and trying to make talking points to boost the hotness on Board Game Geek, which apparently was very effective because it is number 2 on the hotness for the crowdfunding.
Well, I also saw that like certain links and people were deleted because of that.
Yes, it seemed to have some fake accounts too. Mm-hmm. So this is one of those things where it's like, I mean, obviously there's some questionable practices in a lot of this, right? But, oh man, like...
There's a lot of issues with this.
The best thing you could do is give the feedback where it matters the most, and that's the money. If you don't believe that they're doing something in an ethical way, don't support them.
Don't support it. In all honesty, it looks fine. I'm a sucker for worker placement games, but I'm not backing it because I'm just a little iffy on it, and therefore... I don't want to do anything go anywhere near it, that kind of thing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's just, it's an interesting take, and I can't help but think, like, on our end, like, from a media standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. What if we got sent a game to review that was, like, AI art, and we didn't find out about it till after? What would we do, right?
And I do exactly what the one you were saying about, like, hey, I found out about it. In fact, what I would want to do if we were ever sent something for a review... Yeah. I like to research it beforehand before we put it to table and
we are pretty picky about our reviews.
Yeah, and so we're very stickler about that kind of situation too. Like we've been given reviews, we've been offered reviews. We're like, that's not something we would enjoy, or want to really mess with. So we did do one review we were both kind of iffy on, but we kind of liked the concept of it. But it's not even on BGG.
Right.
We do have a video of it if you want to go look it out, but it's on a BGG, so.
I mean, every game there's going to be a game for anybody, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so from being both a designer and
connoisseur
and a connoisseur and a media,
yeah,
like all these levels, I'm getting so many conflicts internally because of this. It was just an interesting thought that I thought I'd bring up for our listeners as an interesting discussion point. What's your thoughts on this, Daniel?
Honestly, like I said, I'm not a fan of AI art. It's the same thing that happened to Awaken Realms when they were doing the Puerto Rico, and they were using it as a stand-in while they were getting artists done, and they got hammered for it too.
Yep.
And so they took it out, and so now it's all artists. They were already paying artists for it. They were just using it for stand-ins for GameFound.
Yeah.
And they got hammered for it, so they took that away.
Yeah.
They apologized for that. They've said they're not going to use it anymore. And I'm in the same boat. Like, AI art, I'm not a fan of, just because I don't know how ethically it was sourced. No one is ever telling you, this is what we used, or this is how we do it. They're just saying, we used it to do this. Well, which one did you use? Did you ethically source it through an AR component that, pays the artist to teach their AI?
Yeah.
Or did you just use, like... I don't know the AI, like a chat GPT kind of thing. Where you just don't know, and it was a free for all, and they pulled artwork that you can find on the internet. Yeah. So it's kind of like I don't want to deal with that. When it comes to the reviewing and stuff like that, I will not put a review on a game. I will review a game after I play it just once. That's fine, because I can do it down and dirty, and if I play it more and get more in the nuances, I can fix my reviews.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, I didn't enjoy this, it's a 5. Fine, whatever. Yeah. That's just the way it is. Because that's my down and dirty. I played it one time. I'm not going to play it again, and this is why. And that's why I put that review out there. I like the fact that when we do our reviews, we kind of try to take as much bias out of it, but we're still giving honest opinions on it.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing is cool.
A game could get a very high score, and neither of us like it.
Yeah, and it's because we're based on our criteria. It does its own thing.
Yeah.
It meets the criteria in that sense.
Yeah.
But our personal review of it is like, yeah, it's a 5. It's fine. Yeah. I'll take it or leave it. There's some games that I've rated 3 or 4. In fact, we were talking about it when we were working on something, and I'm like, yeah, this game was like way down there on that. No, it was bad, and I wasn't a fan of it. But I liked a mass market game more than I like that one.
Yeah. I was talking with one of my coworkers. She's part-time as a stunt woman, actually. Yeah. It's awesome. And she came in as I was watching the review, that was the video review that I was telling you about. And I was like, yeah, it's like this crazy thing is happening. And she was like, well, what's going on? And I was like, well, what's your thoughts on AI artwork? And she was like, I mean, I don't know much about it. Like, I mean, don't they have artists making the programs? I'm like, no, actually, they generally source it from, like, public domain or people who have posted their stuff publicly, and they take a lot of that as learning out, because you gotta have thousands and thousands of images, right, to learn from it. She was like, oh wow, yeah, no. She was like, on that basis alone, I wouldn't agree with that. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. She was like, I mean, it's same in the movie industry, like ever since they started doing CGI, it's terrible. And I was like, well, I'm like, AI is way different than CG, right? Because CG is just the graphics. She was like, either one puts me out of the job. And I was like, that's the best freaking argument. Like, she was like, it doesn't matter how different they are. They both take my job away.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't have a counter to that. That's the most, like, obvious, like, answer to that. It's like,
but it's not just that. I listened to something on our one of the group chats, Board Game Revolution, that we follow. Yeah. And they were talking about, like, AI art in there, and somebody was like, oh, I don't understand. Why are we making a big stink? I've never seen a big stink in anything like this. I'm like, dude, have you not been paying attention to all the strikes that have been going on? Both the Writers Guild of America, they wanted AI protection. The Screen Actors Guild wanted AI protection. Yep. I think the port wanted AI protection. The port strikes on the East Coast wanted AI protection. It's like, dude, if you're not looking for it, you're not going to see it. But it is a thing. There's AI. Everybody's been wanting AI protection because AI can take your job away if the computers learn to a certain extent. I'm all for the advancement of technology and stuff like that.
As a tool.
Yeah. Not to replace human stuff. Yeah. There's a thing in Major League Baseball. There's talks where they're trying to implement more usage of computer systems for balls and strikes and stuff like that. And one of them,
like positioning chips, like
yeah. So like they're
okay.
watching the ball when it lands through cameras and stuff like that. And the computers will call it a ball or a strike just based on what it's framed.
Sure.
I like better what they're doing in AAA, and this is more than likely what's going to come to Major League Baseball eventually. It's called the ABS challenge system. And so a batter can signal that if an umpire, a human umpire, called something a ball and it was way outside the strike zone, he can challenge it. They go straight to the computer system. The computer system, like, no, that wasn't a strike or that wasn't a ball, and reverses the thing. It takes 10 seconds. That is how it's supposed to be used. It's a tool to be used, not to replace.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good comparison. I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, board game news brought to you by CGI, movie, and stunt people, and baseball.
So, we're about to do a segment that we don't normally do on this part of the podcast. We're going to talk about what we've been playing lately. Uh-huh. There is a reason why we're going to talk about what we've been playing lately, and that's because we have a special bit of news for the people. We're doing something very special in the month of February for all of you. You want to tell the people?
Yeah, so we are going to be doing our, every couple of years we do something like this? Mm-hmm. We're going to be doing our top 100. But not just our normal top 100. You're sick of that by now. Yeah. I don't blame you. It ain't that different. Well, mine isn't. Yours is crazy different, apparently. Yeah. I haven't seen the list, but I can only imagine. But we're also going to be inviting our good friends, Gamehead Geek and Dammit Dom, to be joining us on the podcast to give their top 50s each. And then we'll do like some separate stuff for the 51 to 100. Yeah. And yeah, we're going to be bringing them on and have live reactions with us four. It'll be good fun. It's rare that we get to do that. Yeah. And when we get to do it, it's so fun when we can. So we're going to be inviting our friends on to do it. Yeah. And that'll be all through the month of February.
That's going to take up all of February. We're going to start recording here in a couple of weeks for it.
Yep. That's right.
So it's going to be kind of interesting on that. So that's why we decided to put what we've been playing in the this week and next week segments as well, because we're not going to talk about games other than what we like out of the top 100 per se till March.
Something like that.
So we wanted to talk about some games that we played.
Maybe we should do just like a whole catch-up episode.
Yeah, probably.
Like what we've been playing.
They'll do like a little side episode. This is what we've been playing lately.
Yep.
But yeah, it's going to be crazy. We're not going to be doing it. So we decided we're going to add 4 more games this month, 2 this week and 2 next week for our viewers. So with that being said, you want to get into it?
Yeah. So let's flip the coin, see what we've been playing.
All right, starting with me, the first game I want to talk about, I just recently played it on Sunday. In fact, both of these games I just recently played yesterday. And that was the first one being Stardew Valley, the board game.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. I really am.
So, it's a fun adaptation from a video game. I like the fact that Concerned Ape was the one that helped brought this. Yeah? It was kind of like the other video game company, Mechs vs. Minions, where they were like, Riot this games. Is the board game, yep. I like the fact that Concerned Ape was like, no, we're going to bring this. The fact that I had to wait so long to finally get this game, it took 3 years from the fourth publishing of this game for me to finally get a copy, and I had to go to a whole other state to do it. And I understand it. It is a very popular game for a reason, because the video game is very popular. I liked it. I thoroughly liked it. My wife loved it too. It is a long game. It's 16 turns per player, basically, so 16... I get 16 turns. My wife gets 16 turns. Yeah. So you're playing through the season, spring, and you're wanting to meet all the goals that your grandpa gives you. Plus, you want to fix the community room. Mm-hmm. If you want to play hardcore mode, you want to make sure G.A.M.E.R is not anywhere on the board either. So, and you want to do all those before the final turn of winter. So you're doing this all within a year. It's fun. I do like that fact. It is interesting because it doesn't seem that long. It took us, with the teach and stuff like that, in the setup. The setup was a little bit of a bear. About 3 hours to play the game.
Okay.
And the reason being, the setup was much, the teaching took a little bit, because it's, in a sense, worker placement, but it's not.
Yeah.
So what you're doing in this one is, at the beginning of the season, you're setting everything up, you're feeding your crops, or you're watching crows eat your crops, depending on what the card says. And then you're deciding as a group where you're going to go out on the board. And where you're at the board, you can take an action or 2 actions, depending on there. So what's neat about this game is when you move your character to somewhere on the board, you can take an action there and then move. And when you move, you can forge some of the tiles that are on the board based on your path. Mm-hmm. And then you can take an action in the new location that you're in.
Okay.
Or instead of moving and foraging, you take 2 actions on your location. Because some locations only have 1 action. Some locations, like if you're in the town square, you can reveal a community center and add stuff to the community center to build it. Or you can make friends going to the bar or the pub. Or you can buy seeds and plant them in your field to get ready for the season. And you're working together as a group to do all these things. Because like our goals were we had to delve to the level 12 of the mines. So my friend Maria, who played the miner, she was down in that area. That's all she did really most of that game. She did other stuff too, but she was delving in the miners. She was trying to get stone. This way we can make stairs because there are certain points where we had to use stairs to get down to the next level. So it's really interesting. It's very lucky. So you have to be careful with that aspect. One of the goals is we had to get 4 legendary fish. It took us all the way to winter to get the legendary fish out.
Did you have to like awkwardly tap the card?
No, no. Thank God for that. The fish.
I hate that so bad.
Though the thing about that, it is still kind of lucky when you're thinking about it because you roll dice and you're trying to match the certain things. But the fish the only fish you can catch are depending on the area you're at. Sure. So if you're looking for one specific mountain fish, and that's the one that's on the board, you can only roll the dice to match that symbol. But if you're in a different area and there's 3 fish and you roll 3 dice and it's like, hey, I met that one and I met that one, I can catch 2 fish based on the dice that I rolled. There is some mitigation depending on if you get certain upgrades and stuff like that. So that's kind of neat. We did enjoy it. We liked it. We actually were able to beat it in hardcore mode without even trying to do the hardcore. I was like, we're just doing normal mode. We just have to do the 4 goals and we got to do the community center. And it took us to almost the second to last card in the round. So we had like 2 more cards before the final day of winter happened. When we got the last one. And the last one, I think we had to make 12 friends. And a lot of the goals are based on the player count, so it's you need to make this many by this many players. So in our case, with the 12 friends, we had to make 3 friends by 4 players. It doesn't have to be a combination, or it doesn't have to be one person doing it, or I had to have 3 and everybody else had to have 3. It just needed to be a combination of 12 friends as a group. I do like a lot of it. It's interesting. The component quality is really well done for something so cheap.
Looks pretty.
The one thing I want to change is it just gives you little pawns for your characters. I wanted to maybe do like little meeples, like maybe pixelized meeples for your characters. Other than that, it's fine. It's got great components, great quality, great artwork, very pretty. Looks like Stardew Valley. I recommend it if you're a fan of Stardew Valley. I recommend it if you enjoy these kind of games. Just know it's going to be a little long.
Yeah. Cool. As long as you know that heads up, right?
Yeah.
Then again, Stardew Valley, the game itself, it's not short.
No, but it's a video game that you can put away.
Yeah, exactly.
And come back to it later.
You have a save state.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
First game I want to talk about is actually right behind me right here. I want to talk about Rock Hard 1977. You had played this previously. I finally got a chance to play my copy.
I have offered to teach you multiple times.
No, I know. And it's always came up with the game group. But I knew my other game group was actually going to really enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, man, I gotta bring it up for them. And we played a 3-player game of it. It took us a few hours. It did go a little long.
It does, yeah.
But, oh man.
So this thematic, game, right?
It drips with theme. And so much...
For such a Euro game, too.
I need to give a shout out. One of the funniest things. So I watch plenty of other YouTubers do reviews and how to play.
Yeah.
I watched Meeple University's, Stella and Tarrant. Did you watch their video on how to play?
Yeah.
Freaking Tarrant.
Yeah.
My God.
The rolling of the dollar bill.
The dollar bill. Or you can buy up to 3 candy for $1 a piece. And simply exchange the dollars for that. And he has the candies in a little baggie.
No, my personal favorite when he's cutting them with a card.
Yeah, when he's sorting the tokens with a card. It's like, dude, I know what you're doing. And he does it so dry at the same time. I have to give them a shout out. That was one of the... When you're watching a board game tutorial...
And it's making you laugh?
And it's making you laugh so much to the point where you've got to show somebody who doesn't care about board games. Because I showed my wife that. She was like, that's really funny. Bravo to them, okay? First off, I gotta say that. But that really gives a good example of, how much theme is in this game.
Mm-hmm.
we put on a Spotify playlist of like 70s and 80s hard rock.
That's what I
did the entire time. Yep, and we're jamming out the whole time. We were enjoying all the scenes. The flavor text on a lot of like the nightlife cards and stuff. That was hilarious. Mm-hmm. Like it was just so thematic, so fun. I couldn't tell you how much I enjoyed it. I only had one little drawback on the game, which, by the way, G.A.M.E.R components. Oh God, so good. There was not a single issue with color blindness that I had. I mean, you had like red, orange, yellow, right, as player colors, but they were bright.
What I like about it too is like you have the acrylic standees.
Yeah.
But depending on your character, you can put them in your colored base.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
so that is
it's just like the disc on the bottom of a mini, right?
So good.
Yeah, very smart idea. And I only had a single issue with the components, and this is a small, minor thing that I'm probably going to find a way to bypass, is that going through the 3 phases of each round, each month, is you lose track if people are going up to like that anytime phase. Mm-hmm. And so what we ended up doing was we just took like a little box or a little token or something, and we followed it along the bottom of the board. And I think that'd be cool to like, get like a little mini guitar or something, amplifier, and just have that be like the phase tracker. Not a big deal. That's my only little quarrel.
Yeah, we didn't have much of an issue when we played it. Oh, it's funny when speaking of putting music to it, on Instagram when I posted our picture of it, I put the Cherry Bomb because she was part of that band.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Did it have it on Instagram? Oh, yeah. I missed out on that.
Yeah. So you just had to look up Cherry Bomb and it was on there. So that's what I put on for it.
Exactly. No, it was so good. I was really impressed by it.
Again, for a Euro game, it's very thematic.
Yes. Yeah. It's really thematic. Like I was genuinely impressed. Now it did go a little long for the other guys. Not too bad, but like it wasn't as bad as like the previous week when we played that movie worker placement, dice worker placement one. That one overlasted it. We enjoyed ourselves immensely during this game. I can't give it enough praise. This is one of like my new favorite Euros.
Oh no, yeah, I agree. It's up there.
I feel it would have climbed. It would have been in my top like 300 or 400 maybe. Yeah. If I had played it prior to ranking my games.
Yeah, I don't know where it landed. I think it might be in the top 100.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. I have to look at my rankings. I did my rankings the new year. I'm like, any games we play this year, it just has to go into the next time we do rankings.
Yeah. I was just so impressed with it. And the amplifiers, oh man, I could keep going.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's such a fantastic game.
So good. So that was Rock Hard 1977. Fantastic experience.
Or as your wife calls it, a butt.
A butt.
So the next game and the last game I'm going to talk about today was another one I played yesterday. It was a Christmas gift given to me by my wife. And I am becoming more and more a sucker to these small box Pandasaurus games. This is Castle Combo. This thing, first off, component quality. You're talking about how good components are in that one. Thick cardboard for your money. Thick cardboard for the keys that are points for you at the end of the game, or you can use them in different ways of the game.
Okay, I know nothing about this game.
And so it is fantastic just on the component qualities. The card quality is really good. They really knocked it out of the park with this one, bringing this over to the U.S. So Castle Combo is a very simplistic drafting game and a thing, but it's not pick and pass draft. It is a tableau draft. So what you're going to have here is you're going to have 2 different decks. You're going to have a castle deck, which is where a lot of the nobility is in, and you're going to have a village deck. And depending on where the little pawn is, you have to draft from that one. And so on your turn, you have to do 4 different things on your turn. One of them is optional. Everything else is mandatory. The first thing you have to do is you can choose to use one of your keys and only one of your keys to do one of 2 things. Either move the pawn to the other row so you can draft in that row, or you use the key to wipe the row that he's in and put 3 new cards out there. Because all the cards they have a cost that you have to spend money for, or they have a immediate ability when you put it in your tableau, or one that will last you a while, like a discounts on buying certain things, and then they'll have an in-game scoring. Every single one of them has an ability and an in-game scoring on them.
Cool.
You're going to basically draft 9 cards and build it in a 3x3 grid. Afterwards, once you draft your card, you do its ability. Depending on what card you drafted, you may have to move the pawn. If you're drafting from the village and it has a little icon on it, you have to move the pawn up for the next player, so they have to decide if they're going to move it back down to the village. It is fantastic. I love the fact that the scoring is clean. The iconography is real easy. Like, one of the scoring cards is like, you get 3 points for every one of these you have in this row. That's all it is. Well, that symbol. Or 2 points for every non-equal thing in there. And some of these characters have multiple tags on them. So it's very clean, very simple. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It really went down well, too. And it was a nice follow-up to Stardew Valley because it was quick, simple. I think it took us like 30 minutes to 45 minutes to play a complete game of this with the teach. So It's a fantastic game. Pandasaurus, again, knocking it out of the park. Castle combo.
Cool. The last one I want to talk about, I've played right after Rock Hard 1977. Actually, 2 games after that. But this is Hi-Fi by Smirk and Dagger. Hi-Fi, if Rock Hard is dripping with theme, Hi-Fi is the definition of theme. And I've been so impressed with the production from Smirk and Dagger lately. This has... It was a labor of love, obviously. It looks like a vinyl record. It looks like an old stereo. The control board looks like a mixing tape. It looks like a control board. Basically, the idea of the game is that this band, the Meeples... off of their like praised album 50 years ago called The Settlers of Carcassonne was the name of their magnum opus. They were super famous about it. Oh no, that's not their magnum opus. Hi-Fi was their magnum opus, and they made the A side of it, but then they went later on to make the B side. They broke up 50 years later. They decided, let's reunite just to finish the album, and you are music producers helping them build the album. It doesn't feel like that. But the theme, though, like, all the components are awesome. The record that you have there, it's a 33 1/3. You rotate it. There's an arm that's on a lever. Have you played with the components on this yet, or no?
No. Well, I played a little bit of it with the G.A.M.E.R Expo when they were showing it last year.
Okay, yeah. So the way it works is that the record itself is a rondelle. You move it either 1 or 2 spaces, and the first player each round has the option to rewind it by 1 space. That chooses your action. Every action gives you a card of some kind, whether it's one of the 4 instruments or if it's mastering or playback cards, which will give you mid-game scoring and end-game scoring. Or it'll be the instruments that you're actually trying to play out and play in front of everybody in the waveform. Mm-hmm. What's cool about it is you can play a card pretty much anywhere on the waveform board, except if you put like 2 instruments next to each other that are the same, then you get a bonus. Or if you put one of the cards with the same timestamp as like the minutes that's on the song itself, then you get a bonus. Or if you they have like little waveforms that look like the audio samples. It's either quiet, medium, or loud. If you put 2 that are matching, you get a bonus. And this does one of the cooler things that I've seen is that you get an extra little ability for each of those bonuses. But what makes it different is that if you get 2 or more of those at the same time, like let's say I play two guitar cards and they happen to be the same waveform matching, then I get a 4th like even better bonus, which is pretty cool. Like I get an extra little combo off of that, and so I can do like I can swap cards from my hand with ones on there, and you're trying to create sets. It is super point salady. It works really well, and I'm just super charmed by the components. I had a lot of fun. And it made me make that Instagram post where I'm like, and I was reading the rule book for Come Together because I wanted to do that. But Draft and Write Records, Rock Hard, Hi-Fi, and Come Together, if you play all those back to back, like chronologically, that's a game night and a half. You're going to be having a great time. Like, can you imagine putting on some rock albums, like some actual
throw
vinyl?
Some Hitster, too.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I thought about Hitster, but I was like, I mean, like, it's a good party game about music, but, like, why not, right? This would be so good. So that was mine. I loved it. Hi-Fi, Smirk and Dagger. Awesome stuff. So now we're coming into our second half of today's episode, but before we get into our main topic today, you brought this up earlier in the episode. We're giving away 2 of these games, these lovely games up here. You gotta try them out. They're awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're a little biased.
I am incredibly biased, but I want you guys to try them out. I'm just excited for people to play it more than anything. It's been great feedback so far. People have been enjoying it. So I want some of our listeners to have that opportunity as well. So we run a contest for stuff like this. There's 2 ways to enter. or 2 games to enter 4.
I was gonna say we got
more. There's
like
12 ways to enter, really. Like, yeah. So you can get 10 tickets. Yep, 10 tickets in 4 different ways. We're gonna go over those details right now. First off, email us. We'll tell you the code word here in a minute. Secondly, we stream our episodes live on twitch.tv/everydayboardgames. If you subscribe to us, it is financial, but it helps support the podcast a little bit. It helps us keep it running and hosting and all that stuff. You don't have to do that, but that's 3 extra tickets. But if you at least just follow us here and get notified when we go on live episodes, then you get a free ticket as well.
Yep.
Even if you can't even tune in, as long as you're following
us,
it counts. Also, Instagram.com/everydayboardgames. If you subscribe to us there, then you'll get notified whenever we make posts. That's another ticket. And then finally, our YouTube. Subscribe to us there, where you'll get notified. And please put the bell on.
Mm-hmm. It helps us a lot.
Like and click that bell or whatever the
saying is. Yeah.
Subscribe, like, and comment. I don't know. Whatever it is. That also helps us out a lot. That gives you a free ticket. But there is another way for our audio listeners to get tickets. Daniel?
You email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. You put in the subject line, contest. A way to get in contact with you in the body, as well as our code word. This week's code word is musical racket. What do you want to tell the people about that code word?
So, it's spelled specifically musical, like normal, musical, and then racket, racket.
I will accept any spelling for that. Just put musical racket in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if it was like tennis racket, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. So, the reason we did this, you guys are familiar with a lot of our different intros, our normal standard intros. Mm-hmm. Probably music you've never heard before. They're not open source audio. They're actually made by yours truly like 12 years ago or whatever, back when I used to be a music producer. I'm planning on rewarming my gloves here and making some more music for our upcoming episodes too.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun when I get around to doing that. And so Musical Racket, that was my old music name. Go to Bandcamp, you can hear some of my stuff.
And so, so he made a lot of music back in the day. With the 4 different songs we use are from that era of aspects of it. So, cool on that.
Yeah.
With that being said, that's our code word. So you got to put it in the body as well as a way to contact you. That is the 3rd code word we're giving this month. We got 1 more next week. If you want to, you can go back and listen to the other 2. You have a good opportunity to still get in. We are closing that out on the 31st of February. December. All right, January. My days are off. Sorry, I just got a text from my wife.
Did you know that February was just a couple weeks ago, by the way?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised how fast last year moved.
Right, exactly. So again, that's how you enter. We look forward to seeing you guys enter. The more people who enter, the more odds you're going to get. Or there's so many different ways to get different
And then we will get in contact with you in the middle, early part of February after we make the drawing. You'll probably hear in the 1st or 2nd episode, or probably the 3rd episode of the Top 100.
Yep, exactly. So, that being said, let's get into today's topic today.
One more thing. Continental USA only.
Yes, please. Sorry. Whew. Dodged a bullet there. We can't ship to Manila again. Oh man.
Oh god, or just heck, Canada is expensive right now. Yeah. They're not even UPS.
Yeah, we love Canadians.
And the awesome. USPS has just started sending them because they had that whole strike going on.
Yep, exactly. Oh man, it's tough.
Yeah.
All right, so contiguous United States, please only. With that being said, let's get into today's topic. We're going to be doing a board game breakdown, compare and contrast for Splendor and Century Spice Road.
Or Golem Edition, depending on pick your poison.
Either way.
Yeah.
I stand by my statement. I think we've done this before. I'm not saying we haven't. I know you've checked it and you've looked at our
I've looked at the Bible. I've looked at what we've done, and I've checked the YouTube in the audio side. We have not done.
Maybe it was a past life or something. I just feel like this is so obvious. I don't know how we haven't done this yet. Is all I'm saying.
We haven't done it. I've done the research.
All right. I mean then this is an episode that needs to happen. I'm glad we finally get to it.
2 of your favorite games.
Oh yeah, these are great games. Fantastic.
I like one of them. I've actually grown to like the other one because of something, but we'll explain that when we get there.
No idea what you're talking about. All right, so let's talk about those. we're going to be breaking down with our G.A.M.E.R criteria, but we're also going to be talking about different things.
A lot of what they share, as well as a lot of the things that make them different, and for you to decide what you like the most.
Yeah, exactly. So let's break down like how each of them work. Is there one that you want to describe more than the others?
The one I remember the most is Century because of the card play. And this one has one of my favorite mechanisms in it. Century, Spice Roads, or Golem Edition. Is you play a card and it stays down until you play another card to pick everything back up.
Yes.
Or in this one, it's your action
your action is to take all your cards.
But I forget what it's called. It is it's an action pickup or something like that.
Sure.
We've done a top 8 debate on this whole thing.
Yeah.
I think Concordia won that one.
Yeah, like action replenish.
Something like that. But it's interesting, and I love that for that mechanism. What you're doing is you're playing cards out of your hand to gather resources, to then spend those resources to buy you points later in the game. Sounds familiar for another game, huh? But the reason why I like this one, and for me personally is my favorite of the two, it's just that it makes you feel just slightly more clever than Splendor does, because you're like, okay, now I'm going to play this card, I'm going to gather these resources, and on my next turn I'm going to play this card and turn these resources into this thing, and then on my next turn I'm going to use these resources that I just did all this really cool things for to grab me that really high point card up there. Yep. It just really makes you feel clever, and I love the fact that you can upgrade your components. So I can take this, what is it? Red is like the lowest or something like that?
Yeah, red is the lowest, then yellow... yellow is the lowest.
Okay.
Then red, then brown, then green.
Something like that.
Green, then brown.
Yeah, in the Century Edition, it's purple is the highest. Yeah. And so what I like about it is that when you play this one card, it's like, I got all these yellows. What do I do with this? I got this card now. Let me play this yellow to turn, or this card to turn all these yellows into greens, or I can turn this one into a green and turn this yellow all the way up to the 3rd level. Yep. I need that 3rd level to go buy this card over here. Now I have everything. It just makes you feel really clever, and it's just by basic card play, and it plays so quick, too. Yeah. So quick. So that's Century. Splendor?
Splendor is it's going to be the first to 15 points triggers the end. The most points after that round ends wins.
Century is 20?
No, it's whoever. It's either 5 or 6 cards.
Yeah, it's the cards. Yeah.
Yes. And so in Splendor, yes, that one over there, that game that I'm talking about. Yeah, once somebody reaches 15 or more points, whoever has the most points wins, and the way you do that is by buying different Splendor or different gem cards. Those cards cost poker chips in order for you to buy, and combinations of other cards. Basically, it's a very distilled, simplified engine building game. On your turn, you're either going to do one of 3 actions. You're either going to take some gems in a couple different ways, which are beautiful poker chips that have the 5 different colors of gems, and there's also some wilds that we'll talk about in a minute. Or you're going to buy one of the cards that is available. There's 3 levels, 4 cards each. The ones on the top level, level 3, they're harder to buy, but they're worth more points. Ones down the bottom are generally easier to buy, but they're also either worth low or 0 points. And you trade in those chips to buy those. So, for example, if there's a card that says 2 blue, a green, and a white chip to buy, I have to trade in those chips in order to buy it. But all of the cards on the top of it, some of them have victory points, in which once you buy one that has victory points, you just say how many victory points you have. And they'll also have a single gem. That is like a free gem every turn. So if I buy a card that is a blue gem, that means I have it in front of me. Anytime I need a blue gem later on, I can use that card instead, and I do not expend the card, which is super cool. Whereas the chips, you do have to expend them. And so, very simple. You either take 3 different chips, or 2 of the same if there's 4 or more, or you buy a card, or the last action you do is reserve one of the cards and get a wild card. You can hold up to 3 wild, and you can have as many jokers as you want, the wild chips, and you have a maximum limit of 10 chips, so you can't just hoard them all, but they are very limited depending on the players. Also super fast. Like, Century is fast, this is faster.
Yeah.
So, Century is like a level up from Splendor in a way.
And a lot of people have called Century a Splendor killer just because it's that next step kind of game. Splendor was really big for a long while. It came out first. It was around 2013, 14? 15, yeah. And so it was nominated for a Spiel des Jahres. I don't know if Century was.
It was not.
Who is it? Is it Marc-Andre versus Emerson Matsuuchi? Both really good designers. Yep. I haven't really seen much from Marc-Andre other than the Splendor.
Yeah, I'll look here in a bit, but I don't. It doesn't ring a bell off the top of my head.
But he knocked it out of the park with one game already.
Right,
so.
Exactly.
The big thing about it too, both of these are very simplistic not worker placement games, engine building games.
Engine buildings, yep.
Where you feel clever when you do certain amount of combos very well.
Yep.
So I like that aspect. So that's a big comparison of them. Both of them are very well, have very good components, good card quality for the cards. I like the fact that Century has almost tarot size, not completely tarot size, but they're bigger than basic cards. So yeah, and they're very legible. You can tell what the card is doing once you don't need to know about iconography. It's saying like you turn this into this color to this color. Very simple. Or you use this to gain all this, that kind of thing. Very simple, easy to read. Same thing with Splendor.
Yep.
Very simple, easy to read. Both games have good artwork. I personally prefer the G.A.M.E edition because it's easier for me to see the components on this one. You have a more trouble with the components in this one because the gems, they're clear.
Yeah, the transparency is messed with me.
Yeah, so it's just, again, that could be a knock on the graphic design for Century. It is, and the thing is, we're both red green colorblind, but we have different variations. Like I struggle with the cubes that are in Century Spice Road because there's no distinction between the colors. They're all the same tone. Whereas at least the gems, I can see the different tones. Yeah, the clear is a little difficult, but I can see it a lot better than the browns and the reds in Century, or the original Spice Road.
Yeah.
Other than that, they share a lot.
A lot of similar DNA.
A lot of similar DNA. Yeah. Fantastic games, by the way. One thing I want to mention that I like about Century is if you buy the original trilogy, Century, Spice Roads, I forget what the second one is, and Brave New World or something like that. You could put them together and it makes a panoramic view. They were doing that with the G.A.M.E edition and they stopped at the third one, which annoys the mess out of me so much.
Yeah, it's a thing that didn't have to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But other than that, what any more comparisons between the two that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you have like the simple choices in Splendor. You have 3 different options on your turn, and they're all 3 simple choices, whether it's resourcing or getting that. And you also have 4 choices in Century Spice Road. Either play a card, pick up your cards, buy a caravan by trading in the spices, or getting a new action card. So the biggest difference that you can think is instead of poker chips, you're playing action cards. And so you're playing action cards, but then you're getting the 4 different types of spices instead of 5 different types of gems. And since there's a hierarchy to the gems, or the hierarchy to the spices in Century Spice Road, that kind of adds that little bit of dynamic where you can actually upgrade stuff too.
And I do like that. That's where it makes you feel a little bit clever.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, but both of them are charming games. They're both very easy, and they both have different versions that are really cool. I will also point out that Splendor has a really fantastic 2-player version.
That just came out, yeah.
Yeah, that came out fairly recently.
Brood of the Cathala is like the person they go to, they want to turn something into a 2-player game.
Yeah, they do. And there's like 3 different ways to win in that, too. Yeah, of course, right? It's a little
Sounds
more
about right.
But yeah, it's pretty cool how that works. Have you played Splendor Duel?
No, I haven't played a lot of 2-player games. In fact, I only own 2.
Oh, that's right. It's a 2-player game. Yeah. Forgot about that. My apologies. But
I take it back. I own 3, and I have one massive one.
That's true.
I have the Star Wars one.
Yep. But yeah, the Splendor Duel is really cool. And then of course they made the G.A.M.E edition for each of the 3 games as well. They're not compatible with each other, but they are the same 3 games over there. And also, Century Spice Road, one of the cool things... Well, we'll get in that when we break down
when we're going to go into the contrasting, we're going to use the G.A.M.E.R criteria.
But now you should have a general idea on how they work.
And how similar they are to a certain extent.
Yep.
Now let's go into the differences by using our patented G.A.M.E.R criteria. It's not patented, but you guys can use it if you want to.
That'd be great if it was.
Yeah. So the one we're going to talk about first is game immersion, and the one we're talking about that is the game Fun to Lose. They're actually both fun to lose.
They are. You feel like it's always so tight at the end.
Oh yeah.
Probably more so in Splendor, because I know in Splendor, I showed this off at our comic shop not too long ago, and I remember there was a couple who came in and they were just like points away from each other. And one of them,
not if you play with your wife. She runs away with that
game. That's different. Yeah, she does. Very much so. But no, like these two couples, they were looking at it. It's like one of them was like, all right, I've jumped up to 17 points. And then the other person just sat there for a few minutes and went, okay, here we go. 18 points. Done. Game. It's like, but because they had the one last turn, and it's always just right. It's a nail biter right at the end. Century, not as much. Like you can have a little more runaway if you already have the combos going.
Yeah.
But they're both fun to lose. They're both clever how they work, and you feel like you've done a smart thing. Neither of them have much player interaction, other than actually the taking cards that your opponents might want. But that's not immediately obvious.
Yeah, and my thing is when we're coming to like the player interaction, this is my biggest gripe with Splendor. And Century has this as well, but it's not as much. There is more of like that table talk in Splendor, or I mean in Century. My thing is I put Splendor in the same line as Seven Wonders. Is the fact that I can play this game in about 30 minutes or so, maybe even less than that, and not talk to a soul while I'm playing that game. And that's a big thing, is I use board games to socialize as well. If I'm going to play a solo game, I'll just bust out from that shelf over there. So, and that was my issue with Splendor. And it's like, it's good. It's a smart play. I like that fact of it, but I'm not interacting really with anybody. No. I do it more so in the Pokemon version, because when you go into that third level, there's only one, because you can evolve your Pokemon, and if there's only one of those, like I'm holding a Charizard card and you have the Charmander line going very well, there's that little bit of, so on that aspect, they kind of fix that player interaction. Is like, all right, who has it? And then when the Gengar came up when we played it, I immediately grabbed it because I was building up to that Gengar. So there was that kind of thing. So there was that little bit of player interaction that I liked a little bit more than what the base game gives you.
Well, in Splendor, I think the biggest interaction is the resources that are purposefully, thin.
Limited,
That is not the case in Century Spice Road. They are unlimited. But what is limited, though, is that card row. And the way to take the actions is a really unique system. Let's say I want to take the fourth card in the row from the end. Well, the first one would be free, but everything past that, you need to add a cube from your supply onto each card from there in order to pay for it to get to that card. So if it's the fourth card, I need to pay 3 cubes. Yeah, I'll probably pay the yellow ones, but that doesn't mean that I will. Like, I might have thrown something more valuable.
Or maybe I have to pay 4 tokens out there, and I only have 3 yellow in, say, a green, which is or red, whatever was the highest one. Is like, I really want that card, but I really don't want to spend that very good.
Right, exactly. Like, it might hurt to do that. And what makes that so neat is that you're not keeping that stuff away from the other players. But any cubes that are on a card when it is taken goes to the player who took it. So if you load it up with a good cube, that might really entice
someone to go for that.
Yeah. Which is, I've done that to great effect, where I'm like, it's not so much that I need this card. I need you to not get this thing. So I will purposely drop an expensive cube on one of those cards just to be like, all right, like, do you really want that caravan so bad?
Exactly.
Or do you want to go for this?
Yeah. And the thing about it, too, is like sometimes I'll have an expensive gem on my thing, or in this case, cube. And I could be like, well, I really don't need it for the point thing I'm going for. So I'll go ahead and dump it over here, grab the card I really want, and then everybody's like, why'd you spend for that? And then someone next will draft that and be like, oh, I'm going to take this. It's a cube. It's a really good one. I'm like, okay, you're not seeing what I'm doing. That's fine. And so everybody's looking around, and then someone all of a sudden is like, oh, you son of a... that you hear that, and they're like, they realize, and there's nothing they can do to stop it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And I like that. And so there's a little bit more, for me, memorable moments in that because of that situation, especially when someone's like, I see what you're doing now, and I cannot stop it.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So... if we gave a recommendation, if you're more of a fan of, I would say, like proper engine building, like Everdell, Wingspan, all those games, Century is going to be more your style. Yeah. Whereas, if you're more like, I don't want to say Monopoly, but like Monopoly or Catan, Splendor is probably your better one, because it's not so much about the engine building, but it's about building up what you eventually will be able to do. Everything else easier. And that engine building is less player interaction, but it's more about what you're setting yourself up as your end game goals.
Both tend to lend themselves to memorable moments. Like I mentioned, one for me is Century on that one. Mm-hmm. But there is some memorable moments. Like one of my favorite memories of playing Splendor was we were at a Gamehead Geek party. You, me, my wife, your wife were playing Splendor. And this is the only time I've ever seen my wife get into a cutthroat battle with someone. And our wives were just battling it out in that one. And I'm just sitting there like, well, I'm coming in last place because you've played this a lot. She's played this a lot. My wife has picked this up like there's no tomorrow. So I'm like, all right, well, let's just see all the pretty gems I can get and just watch the battle go on.
Like, I'm just going to stand over here. I don't want to be in the crossfire.
And you were sitting there like, we need to get our wives playing games more because they were going to town there, man. It was hilarious. I'm afraid to watch them play like Ticket to Ride together or something like that.
Oh man, can you imagine?
Because they were cutthroat. But yeah, dangerous. But both of them are fantastic games. They do lend themselves to memorable moments. Especially both of them actually really make you feel clever when you make smart moves and stuff like that. And that is to me one of the best memorable moments you get for like engine building. Is like, oh, now that I have these, this can work, and then this can work, and boom, now I got all my points that I need to get. So
exactly, cool. All right.
Moving on to art and production.
Yeah. So, I mean, both of them are really pretty, right? You brought up the panorama. I'm going to start with Century because the panoramic cover is it's such a fun, unique thing. It looks good on a shelf. It's worth showing off.
G.A.M.E.R edition.
The G.A.M.E.R edition doesn't do it. Sorry, but the Spice Road version does. So that's really cool. And, Century is just a beautiful, production, with the exception of the cubes with the color blindness, unfriendliness. Yeah, I mean that's. I
like the G.A.M.E.R edition because the gems are just nicer.
Yeah. But both versions come with containers for the gems. Yeah. The G.A.M.E.R edition has 4 little quadrants and one piece that covers it up and contains them all in there. Whereas you have these beautiful little Middle Eastern style bowls and stuff. They also have the tokens, they're actual metal coins in the Century Spice Road version. I think
they're metal in the column.
Yeah, and they're big sized cards. They're like tarot sized cards. The art on them are beautiful on both. Great production. The rules are just on a single leaflet. It's only about that big, the size of the box, and it's just back and front. That's all that is.
Both are very simplistic when it comes to the rule set too.
Exactly, so. And the container holds it all really well. Whereas Splendor, the art and production.
And to not even make it even better, why don't you mention, if you take out that insert, you can put all 3 games in a Spice Road. I don't know about the G.A.M.E.R edition, but you can put all 3 games in one box, even though they have a big box now for all the Splendor.
Right, they do. For all of Century.
Yeah, Century, yeah.
Yeah, which I've been debating on buying.
Yeah, well, they some of them come with a module in there, too. Oh, so if you just buy the empty box, but I think you have to go directly to their website.
Yeah, I haven't seen stores that sell the empty box yet.
All right, so which one? I have to say though, when we're talking about this one, on the original box cover of Splendor, and then the art with the weird guys,
the guy who's looking at the gem really intensely.
Just not a fan.
Fairly generic.
I'm not a fan of the art. The newer box looks a little bit better. The artwork doesn't really change in the game, from my understanding.
No.
It's fine.
Slightly better cover.
It's fine. Slightly better cover, yeah.
But the highlight of the production
are those poker chips.
Right.
And that's when we go into pieces and components.
Yep, they are plastic poker chips with a metal core. So they feel like clay chips.
Yeah. And they give that nice sound.
Yeah, you can go, shuffle them up. They feel
I have not seen a game of Splendor where somebody is not playing with their poker chips.
Yeah, right? Everyone would. Yeah, those are fantastic. So pieces and components, those are great. The cubes are a little questionable in Century, but I mean, those poker chips are awesome. But if you get the promotional copy, they're slightly translucent poker chips. Ooh.
And if you go with the G.A.M.E.R edition for Century, we're mainly just doing Spice Road, but people do love the G.A.M.E edition. You have gems like those gem-looking stones that you can get in most board games.
A lot of good games like Matches has it.
Yeah, I was gonna say mention Matches.
The same style gemstones. Yep.
Yeah, so you can get those. Like I said, if you're colorblind, one of them is going to be a little bit more, and when we're going to the graphic design, Splendor is going to be much more friendly for you. You can tell the blues, the reds, the greens, and stuff like that than Spice Road in Golem Edition. Both of them are kind of stuck on that with the graphic design. You have trouble with the gems in the Golem edition. I have trouble with the cubes in the Century Spice Roads edition. So when it comes to that graphic design, it's not very colorblind friendly. Let your audience know that aspect of it. Your family members, if they are colorblind and red green colorblind like us, you have to figure out which one it is, because I see the gems better. He sees the cubes better.
It's less about the gems. Like, the gems are kind of okay. It's the icon on the card, since you can't translate translucent plastic to a matte card graphic design. And that's where it trips me up the most, is because the colors that they use on the cubes match the colors that are on the card.
But see, I can't tell the two of those colors.
Right. And see, they're bright enough where it's okay for me.
Yeah.
But, like, at a distance it would be hard, but mostly if they're right in my hand, it's okay. But the thing is, like, those gems, like, when I'm like, okay, this is a teal, is that a teal printed on the card?
Yeah.
That takes me out of it immediately. But you're also not going to have that issue with Splendor, because each of the gems on the poker chips are designed a different shape.
Yeah.
And that's all you needed to do.
Those shapes that you see on the poker chips are what's on the card for their design. So if you're seeing a white diamond, it's a white diamond on the card. If you're seeing like a black onyx that's squared, or rectangular, it's on that card. So that is a fantastic aspect of what Splendor there. So I think, especially from back in the day, they really knocked it out of the park when it comes to arts and production on Splendor.
So as I like to do, if I was giving like a recommendation based on the art and production, first off, like, I can give a good recommendation for, if you like the piece of components for Splendor, you're probably going to like the poker chips that are in War Chest by AEG. That's a cool little 2-player like pool building, great poker chips. All of your pieces are poker chips that are moving across the board. Super cool. Yeah. Is that good? Or even the Gang has great little...
I was going to say the Gang chips has really good ones. Another one... if you kind of like the poker chip feel and you want something more epic, Wonderland Wars has a really good poker chip aspect of it. Okay. They're a little smaller.
Man, I forgot about that.
Yeah, those are really nice, but that's if you're into it. But
and Century Spice Road, what would you recommend for them?
Well, if you're going to go with the Golem edition, Matches has the same amount of gems.
Sure.
If you're going to go for like the tarot size cards, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I like the cups that they come with, right? And I like the metal
The fact
coins,
that they give you the resources for that.
Yeah. Like, that's super cool. Where else what other games have we seen something like that in?
I don't know. That's what I was looking around.
Man.
Oh,
man. We might have to come back to that.
Yeah, but the tarot size cards are really nice. I'm trying to think of, like, another one that... I mean, the tarot size cards are like in Courtesan, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole again. But honestly,
you know what I like about Century Spice Road? You don't have to iron the board.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that.
Don't you start with me, man. I'm on the edge. Actually, you know what? Component-wise, like, I just saw a Wrath of Fire Mountain outside of my head, and for some reason, that gives me a vibe of Century Spice Road.
Yeah,
they're very different pieces, but for some reason, like, they feel good. Wingspan.
Wingspan, yeah.
Wingspan is a great
example for Century, yeah.
Yeah, like that.
Because they have the cubes, you have the good components, you have the eggs.
Good art, pleasant to look at, good overall graphic design. Yeah, Wingspan would be my recommendation for if you like the production of Century Spice Road.
Oh, yeah, Stonewire just knocks it out of the park in general when it comes to something like that.
Yeah.
All right,
but they also have the little trays for the tokens and stuff.
Yeah. No,
good stuff.
Nice.
Meaningful choice.
When we're talking about meaningful choice, impacting other players, these ones don't really have a lot of impact with other players. Both of them, other than, like, you may reserve a card that someone might be trying to go for. You may buy a card outright that I'm trying to build to for a point system, as now my turn is kind of screwed because you bought the card that I was racing you to. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it's not really impacting other players to a certain extent. Very little. So both of those are fine on that
You're just taking stuff from a tableau that they would no longer be able to get after.
What both of these have that depth of strategy, that tactics, or in this case, not skills, because it's more of the strategy and the tactics.
Yep.
Because you can, hate draft and mess with an opponent when you're like, I don't really need this card, but I'm going to go ahead and reserve it because I need a wild gem anyways. Yeah. So you can do that in Splendor. In Century Spice Road, I just mentioned it earlier in the other one, you're racing to a certain card. Okay, I need to be really clever on how I manipulate the tokens that I have to go to that card that I'm racing you for. And the one thing we haven't mentioned that Century that I like, you have, and just like in Splendor, you have a limited amount of space of how much resources you can hold.
Yes.
So if I'm going to play a card that gives me 3 yellow gems, because I need those 3 yellow gems to buy one of these cards, but I'm full up already, I have to make that decision. Do I need to get rid of some of these more powerful gems to get those 3 yellow gems that I need to buy this card that I need over there? Yeah. And so it's that push and pull that I really like a lot of that Century has. And Splendor kind of has that as well.
Sure. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. Like, they both have that very satisfying depth of strategy. You feel clever. That we harp on that. Like, there's something very, very pleasant about playing a simple game that when you finish it, you're like, man, if only I did this on that turn. That was what did it. That was what it changed. Like, I love that aspect of it, and I love when games let the players feel like they've done something just really fun. Mm-hmm. And so, as far as recommendations go, I do have one strong recommendation, that if you like Century, for meaningful choice and tactics, I would say Gizmos by far.
Oh, yeah,
because Gizmos is that same idea. You're getting the marbles, you're trading them in, you're building that engine.
See, and I was going to give Gizmos as a recommendation for Splendor because it allows you to do a lot of that same sort of stuff. I can reserve something that I really need to get. I need to use these specific marbles that I have to do all this, which now allows me to trigger certain stuff. So Gizmos was going to be my Splendor recommendation here.
I would say with Splendor, what I would say more so is probably more akin to like Machikoro.
I wasn't going to recommend Machikoro.
I know, you're not a big fan of Machikoro. I don't have a better recommendation because what I like about Machikoro is that it's the single resource, and it's just how you manipulate that one resource. Whereas, like, I know there's more resources in Splendor, but it also, there's that so little overhead where you're like, okay, there's no bad moves. Like, there's moves that are less efficient, but no bad moves, right?
What do you think of a recommendation of Living Forest for Century?
Sure. I would say more so Mystic Vale.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I need to play Mystic Vale more. It's just I haven't played it since that one time because it was a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, we need to play Living Forest again.
I just thought of one for Century that actually, or even better, Splendor. Furnace.
Okay.
Because of the very simplistic rules where you're turning resources into other things. I actually
a lot of conversions and stuff. That would be more Century.
Century, yeah. I was going to say it's going to be...
Gizmos for Splendor, Furnace for
Century.
Good. Okay. I'm cool with that. Ease of play. Oh my God, are these easy?
These are
simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism. You're either taking some stuff or playing some stuff, and that's it. Like it's really not more complicated than that.
So my recommendation on that one for Century, if you're mainly because of the card play, if you want something a little next step, Concordia.
Yeah. Okay.
Because of that card play.
Yes, I don't disagree with that. The one I was going to recommend, and this is a little easier, and I think it is still in production. It's Bazaar by Sid Saxon, and that's all about conversions of like trading.
That is a good one.
Certain gems,
and you can
gems.
Even if it's not in production, you can find copies.
Yeah, you can find used copies of it.
I mean, you found me a copy at Savers. So.
Yeah, exactly, and it's so fun. I mean, it's literally just I'm trading this for this, trading this, trying to get the best trades that I can to make it as efficient. I love it. Like literally to get to the table. Neither of them are an exciting theme. One's Spice Road, one's gem trading.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, okay. Easy to understand and learn to teach. Yeah, we teach this super fast.
I've taught this to non-gamers, especially Century.
Yeah.
I did teach the Pokemon version of it to my game group, as well as other people, and it goes down really well. I find Century a little bit easier to teach, just for the simple fact that I teach it more.
Yeah.
And that is really it. Splendor is not a hard teach. It's just I can know the nuances of Century a lot easier to explain than I can with basic Splendor.
Exactly. So for me personally, my recommendation would be Bazaar for Century, for me, as far as ease of play goes. And ease of play for Splendor, I would say Point Salad. which is from AEG. It's either you take some gems or they score, or take some vegetables, or take a scoring card, which will score vegetables in different ways. That's all it really is. It's a very simple choice. You either do one thing or another, carry out until the end of the game. That seems very similar to me. I was also thinking, like, a lot of G.A.M.E.R games, like Dragonwood doesn't feel like either of these, but it is that simple.
Yeah. Out of the ease of play, if I was going to give a recommendation, this one's a little bit tougher for me because I don't play a lot of games that have this kind of.
But let's have a recommendation. Like, if you like that game, what, like, would you like Splendor or Century more?
Man, this one's actually tough for me when it comes to, like, in the ease of play aspect of that kind of situation.
Yep.
Because they feel so distinct of what they're engine buildings, but they're so distinct on how simple they are.
Yes.
I honestly recommend any Emerson Matsuuchi game if you want something that's just simple with a lot of depth.
Yeah.
Heck, he has one of the best hidden movement games with Halloween. Because what he does, and the reason why we like him or someone like Phil Walker Harding, is they strip down to its core.
Yes, they very much do.
And so, like, if you want something outside of this that it has a strip down to its core, go to Emerson Matsuuchi. Another one, I guess I could say for like Century, and it's just because of how simple it is maybe Cities from G.A.M.E.R.
Sure.
The Phil Walker Harding game.
Yeah.
Because you have 4 choices basically, and it's just when you're going to do that choice.
Yep, I can agree with that. And our last criteria, finally, is replay value. Length of time and scaling well, minimum number of plays for the full experience, and expandability, existing expansions, etc. We're also going to do spin-offs.
Yeah, I was going to say that. And this one has. We need to talk about spin-offs because both of these have good spin-offs.
First off, one of the coolest things about Century is we talked about Century Golem Edition, but there are 3 games. We've referenced them briefly. There's Century Spice Road, Century New World, and Century Eastern Wonders.
Yeah, Eastern Wonders was the second one.
And New World is the third one.
Yeah.
And they are different games, but they also include rules where you can combine the first 2 centuries and make a
1 and 3.
Game, or 1 and 3 to make a 5th game, or 2 and 3 to make a 6th game, or all 3 to make a 7th game.
So that's some expandability, right?
That's some expandability. That is really cool how those are just fully compatible like that. Whereas we referenced it earlier, Splendor, they have a dual version, and they have this just freaking sweet version.
Imported in the United States.
Yes, yeah, it's not in the U.S. You have to pay for it imported from Korea.
Import for Korea, and you have to print out English rules.
Yes, yeah, but, oh man.
Once you get the English rules, it's language independent. It's very simple. It plays exactly like Splendor. They have some nuances that upgraded a little bit.
Yep.
You also have first off, before we go into like the spin-offs and the expandability, let's go back to the length of time and scaling well. Both of these games are pretty quick. Fantastically well done, really quick games. Splendor slightly less time than say Century Spice Road.
Yeah.
Just because there's a little bit more steps. As you mentioned earlier, Splendor is maybe the gateway and Century is the next step.
Yeah. There is also worth knowing that there is an expansion for Splendor.
It
has 4 mini modules inside of it. There's like towers and like some abilities and stuff. Generally,
there's technically 2 expansions for Century.
No, technically.
Because it gives you 7 different games.
Yeah. I know what my recommendation would be. I think truly like for Splendor, if you like that replayability, if you're like Azul.
That was going to be my recommendation for Splendor.
100%. Because Azul has that brilliant drafting. They have 3 other versions of Azul, and they're now coming out with a 2-player version of Azul, hint, hint, Splendor. If you like the drafting and the mechanisms of Azul, you'll probably like Splendor quite a bit. Do you have a recommendation for, like, if somebody likes this game, they would like Century Spice Road for the replay value?
For the replay value...
Like, I mean, I don't know too many other games where you can combine different, like, versions of them.
That's what I'm thinking, like
expandalones, right? Hey, Illuminous.
How's it going, Illuminous? Yeah, they're both different enough. I'm just trying to think of other games that really fit the Century aspect of things.
Yeah.
And I'm drawing kind of a blank when it comes to the replay value because there's not really a lot of spin-offs. There's nothing that really... I guess Dead of Winter is the only one that has like an expansion that you can combine with the regular game, but it's the same game. It doesn't change anything.
Right. I mean, well, maybe something like a Disney Villainous, but like that's way more complicated. But I like how it's fully compatible.
Yeah, with the little expansions, but you can't use Marvel in it. You can't use Star Wars in it. The Shem Phillips Raiders series are interconnected if you buy that special box. But I mean, I want something that gives you like that pure and simple.
That's true. Yeah.
And it's kind of hard. Like Horrified is another one, especially now since they're kind of integrating with the new stuff. Star Realms is a really good one.
Yeah,
and it has a spin-off. You have a Far Realm, Fantasy Realms, and then you have also the fantastic Star Trek Star Realms. So
as far as replay value goes, that would be our recommendation for Hero Realms or Star Realms for Century Spice Road. They're two very different games. Like, definitely look into it first before getting it, but that has that same level of replay value. That's really gratifying.
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree. Century is one of those hard ones that because of what they did with this one, where they interchanges it with its expansion or its sequels, it's kind of hard to really...
Yeah.
Because you don't see that a lot.
No.
I mean, you can probably do Everdale for Century because of the whatchamacallit, all the expansions on it. There's a lot of expansions. It is an engine builder, so it's just... Maybe that could be my recommendation, but it's not simple like Century is.
No, it's really not. But again, like we're only arguing replay value, which fair enough.
Fair enough.
So with that being said, those are some. If you're different types of gamers, that will give you. That'll let you know whether you would lean more towards Century Spice Road or Splendor. This will hopefully let you get that idea.
We did forget to mention something when we're talking about like the spin-offs on Splendor. We didn't talk about the Marvel one. We talked about how we like the...
Oh, yeah, the Marvel one.
There is a Marvel one in English. Yep. We're not a fan of it. It does change something where you can't be... Like our friend Gamehead Geek, you can't be a slumlord to just stay in the one row. You have to get up there to the higher rows for you to get the Infinity Gauntlet.
That's right.
I prefer the Pokemon one because I love the little aspect of the evolving.
Yeah.
I love that. It just gives it a right amount of choice in there.
Yes.
With that being said, that's everything we can think of on this compare and contrast. It is a fun episode.
It is. Very much so. So we want to thank you for tuning in. If you ever want to email us directly, remember that code word today. It was musical racket. Email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. And you can, in the body, put contest.
Subject.
In the subject, put contest. In the body, put a way for us to contact you along with that code word. And that will enter you into today's episode. You can also follow us at instagram.com/everydayboardgames. Also to receive another ticket automatically.
Also, all video re-uploads and reviews are found on YouTube under youtube.com/@everydayboardgames. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on the platform. Subscribe, which also gets you a ticket if you're not. Like the video and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject.
And if we stream all of our episodes live at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames, where you can follow us to get notified when we tune on. And subscribe if you'd like to help us support us financially. We really would appreciate that. Both those gives you tickets in different ways. Again, twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
All audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast, including Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and Apple.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day's a good day for board gaming.